My so-called best friend secretly seduced my fiancée and got her pregnant, then had the nerve to show up at my apartment, blackmailing me into staying silent to protect their future. I didn't expose them right away. Instead, I did something so much worse that they never saw coming. My longtime friend Madison, a constant presence since 7th grade, filled me with joy when she rose to toast at my engagement party. Yet, a peculiar unease settled in as she repeatedly glanced at Alex, my fiancé, while speaking of my perpetual need for someone to care for me. When she excused herself for the restroom, her phone remained on the table, and that's when my entire world shattered. A text from Alex appeared. "Stop texting me, tonight isn't about us." I'd known Madison's phone password for years, but my hand trembled as I unlocked it, desperate to review their messages. What I saw next confirmed my worst fears. They conversed almost daily, spoke of longing for each other's embrace, and claimed my presence paled in comparison to their love. I quickly grabbed my own phone, capturing screenshots of everything before her return. Later, after everyone departed, I confronted Alex with the images, watching his composure crumble. He admitted to the texting but swore no physical intimacy had occurred. He explained that 2 years prior, when my mother fell ill and I devoted myself to her care, spending every night at the hospital, he believed I was on the verge of ending our relationship. He claimed Madison was there for him when I abandoned them both. The word abandon churned my stomach, especially since my mother was battling terminal cancer, and apparently that made me a neglectful girlfriend. I asked him to leave, needing time to process. Sleep eluded me that night, so at 3 a.m., I meticulously scrolled through years of social media photos. That's when a pattern emerged. Madison had posted pictures with Caleb, my high school boyfriend, months after our breakup. The timestamp showed this was during the summer she'd insisted she was consumed by her internship. My hands shook uncontrollably as I flipped through my old diary, where I'd chronicled Caleb's sudden confusion about his feelings for me. My mother arrived at 10 a.m. for our planned breakfast, finding me amidst a scattered array of printed screenshots and notebook pages. I recounted everything. She simply looked at my face, pulled me into a hug, and then revealed her own startling news. Years ago, she'd witnessed Madison kissing Caleb at the mall but hadn't told me, thinking she must have misunderstood. She added that Madison always asked incredibly detailed questions about my relationships and frequently stopped by the house when I wasn't home, claiming she was waiting for me. Meeting our mutual friend Sarah for coffee, I found she couldn't meet my gaze as I shared Madison's actions. Sarah's hands continuously stirred her drink. Finally, she confessed that everyone knew Madison harbored feelings for Alex. She showed me texts where Madison explicitly asked her to invite Alex to events knowing I couldn't attend. Sarah said they hesitated to tell me because of my deep affection for Madison, fearing they might be misinterpreting the situation. The sense of betrayal spread like a toxic substance through every memory I held. The following day, I spent hours creating a timeline on my laptop. The pattern was glaringly obvious, making me feel physically ill. Madison had grown close to every single one of my boyfriends just before they broke up with me. She was even the one who told me I was being too clingy with my college boyfriend, Ben, right before he ended things. Sarah eventually admitted that Madison had indeed dated at least 2 of my exes after our breakups. Then somehow everything escalated tenfold. That night, Madison appeared at my apartment, mascara streaking her face, her hand pressed against her stomach. She announced she was pregnant with Alex's baby, claiming it was a one-time mistake during a stressful argument with Alex about the wedding. I didn't believe her. She pleaded with me not to ruin 3 lives over one mistake. I feigned consideration, suggesting we talk it through, all while secretly recording on my phone. The more she spoke, the more truth spilled out. She confessed that I always got everything so easily, and that men consistently chose me first. She admitted to telling my first boyfriend I was seeing someone else. She even confessed to manipulating my exes and turning them against me. It wasn't them she loved. She was in love with my life, determined to dismantle it piece by piece. The next day, Alex arrived with his parents, attempting to salvage our relationship. His mother insisted I was overreacting due to wedding stress. Then Madison appeared uninvited, her hand strategically placed on her stomach, playing the victim. When I played the recording for everyone, Alex's mother's face went stark white upon hearing that her son had been deceitful for 2 years. Alex didn't even look at me. He turned to Madison and demanded a paternity test. That's when she revealed her final scheme. She'd been meticulously documenting my mental health struggles for years. Every time I'd vented about work stress or cried about my mom's cancer, she'd save the texts, twisting them into fabricated evidence that I was unstable. She threatened to send it all to my workplace if I didn't forgive her and move forward, claiming my current reaction proved I was vindictive and unstable. Alex looked between us and I saw doubt creep into his eyes. I stood in my apartment utterly alone while the two people I had trusted most walked out together. Madison smirked, her hand on her stomach, saying, "Think carefully, Jenna, you have everything to lose." I believed I had lost everything that night, but 3 days later, the paternity test results arrived in Alex's email, an account I was still logged into. My hand trembled as I clicked the notification. The lab results loaded agonizingly slowly, each second stretching into an eternity. My eyes scanned the document frantically until I found the line that stopped my heart. The test was negative. Madison wasn't carrying Alex's child. But attached was a second document that made everything worse. Madison was indeed pregnant, just not with Alex's baby. The lab technician had included a note about an unusual request for a comparative sample against someone named Marcus. My phone buzzed immediately. Madison's name flashed on the screen. She knew I was in the email. She'd been monitoring my activity this entire time. I let it ring, snapping screenshots of everything with my other hand. The phone stopped, then started again. This time it was Sarah, texting urgently about Madison being at her apartment, crying, claiming I'd hacked Alex's email and threatening to call the police. Sarah's message contained Madison's exact phrasing about violation of privacy, which made my skin crawl. After everything, I didn't know if I could trust Sarah either, but I needed someone to know the truth. I sent her the screenshots and watched the typing indicator appear for 5 straight minutes without any message coming through. My phone exploded with notifications. Alex calling, demanding to know why I was stalking his email. Madison texting threats about cybercrime charges. Then, a knock at my door at 4 a.m. that could only be my mother. I opened the door to find her standing there in her robe, holding 2 coffee mugs. One was Madison's favorite brand, the vanilla hazelnut she always kept at our house. My stomach dropped. "Madison called me crying," Mom said, pushing past me into the apartment. "She's been staying in our guest room since yesterday. She said you've been harassing her and Alex." The words hit me like physical blows. I tried to explain about the test results, pulling up the screenshots on my phone, but movement in the hallway caught my eye. Madison emerged wearing my old high school pajamas, the ones with little stars that I'd left at Mom's house years ago. Her hand cradled her belly protectively as tears streamed down her face. "I feel so violated," Madison whispered, collapsing into my mother's arms. "She's been stalking us, going through private emails. I'm scared for the baby." Mom looked between us, torn between the daughter she'd raised and the girl she'd treated like a second daughter for over a decade. While Madison sobbed dramatically, I noticed her phone sitting unlocked on the kitchen counter. A text conversation was visible with someone saved as Just M, with a message about keeping their story straight. The timestamp showed it was sent 30 seconds ago, while Madison was supposedly crying too hard to function. Before I could grab the phone, car doors slammed outside. Through the window, I saw Alex getting out with his parents and a police officer. Madison had called them all. The officer took statements while Alex's mother fussed over Madison, shooting me looks of pure disgust. His father asked why I was so obsessed with destroying their family. Madison produced printed emails from 2 years ago, when I'd vented to her about Alex during my mom's cancer treatment. She'd saved every moment of weakness, every frustrated text, spinning them as evidence of my instability. "She's been spiraling for years," Madison said softly, her voice perfectly calibrated for maximum sympathy. "I've been so worried about her mental health. I even called her therapist because I was concerned about this breakdown." My blood ran cold. I tried calling my therapist's emergency line, but the service informed me that my doctor had already been notified of my crisis by a concerned friend. Madison had been 10 steps ahead this entire time. My phone buzzed with an email from work asking about my absence and mentioning someone had called about my mental health emergency. I realized I couldn't even go to work without facing questions Madison had planted. The police officer reviewed his notes and looked at me with something between pity and weariness. He explained that since Alex had never removed my email access, it technically wasn't hacking, but he warned me about harassment. Then he mentioned this was the second call about email access this month, which made no sense until I realized Madison had been building a paper trail, desperate to make someone understand. I blurted out that Madison's baby wasn't Alex's. The room went silent. Alex lunged for Madison's phone to check the messages with M, but Madison collapsed dramatically, clutching her stomach. "The stress," she gasped. "The baby. I need the hospital." Alex's mother immediately switched to crisis mode, helping Madison to the car while shooting me a look of pure hatred. The worst part was watching my own mother grab her purse to go with them, choosing Madison over me without hesitation. As they left, Sarah finally texted back with 4 words that changed everything. I'm done keeping secrets. 20 minutes later, I sat across from Sarah at our usual coffee shop. She couldn't meet my eyes as she pulled out her phone and started showing me messages. Madison had been building her case for months, showing edited text to our friend group, recording conversations, creating a narrative where I was the unstable one who couldn't handle wedding stress. She showed us all these screenshots, Sarah said, scrolling through a group chat I'd never seen. Everyone thinks you're having a breakdown. She's been really convincing, Jenna. She cries and seems so genuine. My heart sank reading messages from college friends I thought cared about me, all discussing my mental state and obsessive behavior. Madison had poisoned every relationship I had while I was too blind to see it. Who's M? I asked, remembering the text conversation. Sarah bit her lip. Check Madison's Instagram. She started following someone named Marcus about 3 months ago. He works at Alex's company. I found Marcus's profile easily. He'd liked photos from our engagement party, which meant he'd been there. The timeline made my stomach turn. 3 months ago was when Madison had started acting strangely, right when she'd begun her final push to steal my life. My phone buzzed with a text from a mutual friend saying Madison was being admitted for observation due to pregnancy complications, with Alex by her side playing the devoted father. The lies just kept building. I drove to Alex's apartment with my key, knowing it would be my last time there. I needed my things, but more importantly, I needed answers. The place felt different, like it belonged to strangers. That's when I saw Madison's overnight bag in the bedroom. Inside, I found prenatal vitamins with a receipt dated 2 months before Madison claimed the conception happened. The credit card used belonged to Marcus Chan. My hands trembled as I photographed everything, knowing I was running out of time before someone noticed I was there. My phone lit up with a text from Madison. I know you're there. The cameras are recording. This will look like stalking. Cameras? I looked around the bedroom, spotting a small device I'd never noticed before. Had Alex installed them, or had Madison convinced him to? The realization that she might have footage of me here made my chest tighten. Everything could be edited to make me look unhinged. Mom called while I was still processing. Madison needs your insurance information for the hospital. The stress you're causing could hurt the baby. Can't you just forgive her? She keeps saying she wants to make things right. The way Mom repeated Madison's exact phrases made me realize how deep the manipulation went. I found my old diary in Madison's bag. Yellow post-it notes marking pages where I'd written about feeling overwhelmed during Mom's cancer treatment. Madison had been collecting ammunition for years. I photographed everything, but the evidence felt useless. Anything I found could be dismissed as planted since I was alone in the apartment. Making a desperate decision, I called the number I'd found for Marcus Chan. Hi, this is a friend of Madison's, I said, mimicking her speech patterns from years of friendship. I'm worried about her and the baby's father. She's been so stressed lately. Marcus's voice was confused but concerned. Wait, what? Madison told me she was single. We've been together for 3 months. She said she was escaping some stalker ex-friend who was obsessed with her. The pieces clicked together. Madison had been playing both sides, creating parallel narratives where she was always the victim. I managed to get Marcus to leave a voicemail confirming their relationship before he grew suspicious and hung up. Sarah texted that Madison had just told everyone I'd broken into Alex's apartment and was spiraling like when her mom was sick. The speed of Madison's information network was terrifying. When I tried forwarding Marcus's voicemail to our friends, Madison's preemptive messages had already poisoned the well. They responded with suicide hotline numbers, convinced I was having a breakdown. Hospital visiting hours would end in an hour. I had to decide whether to confront Madison directly or keep gathering evidence. My phone buzzed with notifications as my 3 closest college friends blocked me on all social media platforms within minutes of each other. The coordinated shunning had Madison's fingerprints all over it. Another text from Madison. Check your work email. I opened it to find HR had scheduled a meeting about concerning reports from friends and family. The meeting was with Janet, the same HR representative Madison had befriended at every company party. Madison's message continued. Stop now and I'll tell them you're getting help. Keep going and I'll show them everything. I deleted the text, knowing Madison already had screenshots, and drove toward the hospital with Marcus's contact information burning in my pocket. The hospital parking lot was nearly empty. I asked the parking attendant if he'd seen Madison, describing her car. He looked confused. The pregnant lady? She left about an hour ago. Seemed pretty happy for someone having complications. Even laughed on her phone about something. My blood ran cold. I checked the hospital's patient portal on my phone, using the login Madison had shared years ago for emergencies. There was no record of her being admitted. The entire hospital drama had been staged. Security footage would show the truth, but when I went inside to ask, I discovered Madison had never entered the emergency room. Instead, cameras caught her meeting with Alex's mother in the hospital cafe. Both of them huddled over phones and papers. Everything from the last 24 hours had been choreographed. The police call timed for maximum drama, the hospital scare to make me look unstable for showing up, the coordinated social media blocking. Sarah's text confirmed my worst fears. Madison asked me to test your mental state. She said she was worried you might hurt yourself. I'm sorry. Mom texted asking me to come home because Madison was scared to be alone and needed somewhere safe to stay. She mentioned she was preparing my old room for Madison. The thought of Madison sleeping in my childhood bed while wearing my pajamas made me physically ill. I texted back that I was getting help and drove to Marcus's apartment instead. He needed to know the truth about the woman carrying his child. When he opened the door, his expression shifted from confusion to alarm at my appearance. I probably looked exactly how Madison had described. Unstable, obsessive, dangerous. Please just give me 5 minutes, I begged. Check her social media from 3 months ago. Check when she started following you. As Marcus scrolled through Madison's carefully curated Instagram, his face paled. She'd been liking his posts and showing up at places he frequented weeks before they supposedly randomly met. I showed him the screenshots of the paternity test, the prenatal vitamin receipt, everything. She told me she was escaping an abusive situation, Marcus said slowly. Said her ex-friend was stalking her, that she'd had to change her whole life to get away. I created fake social media accounts that night, adopting Madison's own tactics to monitor my former friends. Using details from Madison's posts, I messaged Alex's mother from a fake profile, claiming to be Marcus's concerned sister. The web of lies was so complex that even I struggled to keep track of who knew what. Alex's younger sister, Emma, reached out through a gaming platform we'd used years ago. I heard my parents talking with Madison about your lease. They're planning something. Emma revealed that Madison had convinced Alex's parents to co-sign a lease termination, claiming I'd abandoned the apartment. The date on the paperwork was before the engagement party even happened. They had been planning this for months. With my housing threatened and my job in jeopardy, I realized I needed proof of Madison's pattern that went beyond just my word. I decided to confront her in the hospital parking lot, where security cameras would record everything. But when I arrived, Madison was waiting with Alex's mother as her witness. I'm moving into your apartment with Alex, Madison announced calmly, her hand on her stomach, for the baby's safety. Your mother agrees it's best. Behind them, I could see Mom nodding supportively. Madison already had keys. My own mother had given her keys to my apartment. I held up my phone, making it obvious I was recording. The pregnancy timeline doesn't match Alex, I said clearly. You know it's Marcus's baby. Madison smiled, that same smirk from the night she'd walked out with Alex. Recording without consent is illegal in this state. But please keep giving me evidence of your harassment. She pulled out her phone and showed me a message thread with my ex-boyfriends. Caleb and Ben are both willing to testify about your unstable behavior in past relationships. It's sad how you've always been jealous of my friendships with them. The truth hit me like a physical blow. She hadn't dated them because she wanted them. She dated them to gather ammunition for this exact moment. Every relationship, every interaction, had been a long game to destroy me when the time came. I posted the recording online anyway, tagging everyone involved. Within hours, my remaining friends called me unhinged for recording without consent. Legal threats arrived from Madison's cousin, who happened to be a paralegal. Even my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chun, got dragged in when Madison claimed I'd been harassing her in the hallways. Madison posted crying selfies with survivor support hashtags, gaining sympathy from extended family who didn't know the full story. My cousin texted asking if I was okay, and mentioned Madison had reached out concerned about my spiral. She suggested the same treatment center Madison had recommended. I spent the next 48 hours creating a detailed timeline website, exposing everything. I knew it would make me look obsessed, but I had no other choice. While organizing photos, I found one from college where Madison was wearing my missing necklace, the one I'd accused Ben of losing. She'd kept trophies from each relationship she'd destroyed. HR moved up our meeting after Madison sent them the website as evidence of harassment. The meeting time conflicted with the lease termination deadline. I had to choose between saving my job or my apartment. Through Emma, I learned the full scope of Madison's plan. She didn't just want Alex or my apartment. She wanted my entire life. My job, she'd already applied for a position in my department. My family. My entire identity. She was systematically replacing me in everyone's lives. I chose to skip HR and go to the apartment, but the locks had already been changed. Through the window, I could see Madison hanging her clothes in my closet, while wearing my grandmother's earrings. Something inside me snapped. Using the maintenance key I'd secretly copied months ago, I entered to document Madison in my space. I found my birth certificate in her files, along with practice signatures of my name. She was planning to become me in every way possible. Madison arrived with Alex, immediately calling the police for trespassing. She'd anticipated this exact scenario, probably planned for it. As sirens approached, I saw Marcus's name pop up on Madison's phone. The game was far from over. The officer who arrested me was the same one from the email incident. He looked tired as he explained my rights, probably wondering how a friendship could go this wrong. In holding, I met a woman named Amy who mentioned her ex-best friend had gone crazy last year. The story sounded eerily familiar. Pregnancy claims, stolen boyfriends, systematic isolation. Mrs. Chan posted my bail. Bless her heart. But when I got out, I discovered I'd been terminated from work for abandonment and creating a hostile environment. Madison had already interviewed for my position. Using my own portfolio pieces she'd helped me create over the years. Using Madison's playbook, I befriended Marcus's sister online, slowly revealing the truth about Madison's deception. His sister was disturbed by the pregnancy timeline and mentioned Madison had been asking about Marcus's inheritance from his grandmother. Together we discovered Madison had done this before in college. She pursued her roommate Claire's boyfriend, though that attempt had failed when Claire transferred schools to escape Madison's escalating behavior. I tracked down Claire, who was now living across town. I kept documentation, Claire said, showing me old files, but I was too scared to use it. She's very good at making you look crazy while she stays calm and collected. Claire's files showed Madison's pattern dating back 8 years, including forged recommendation letters and falsified transcripts. But using this evidence meant dragging Claire back into Madison's orbit, something she'd specifically asked to avoid. I went to Mom's house to collect some belongings and found Madison had redecorated my childhood room. My baby pictures had been replaced with photos of Madison's life. My trophies were gone, replaced with her achievements. It was like I'd been erased from my own history. I took photos of everything, knowing I was violating the restraining order Madison had just filed, but I couldn't stop documenting the erasure of my existence. Madison arrived with Mom, who immediately called the police for the violation. I'm trying to help her, Madison said, tears streaming as she comforted my crying mother, but she just won't get the help she needs. Every piece of evidence I'd gathered became meaningless against the restraining order violation. My arrest made the local news blog with the headline, "Local woman arrested for stalking former friend." Any chance of employment in town was destroyed. Marcus finally learned the truth and confronted Madison at a prenatal appointment. From across the street, I watched him demand a paternity test while Madison played the victim to perfection. She agreed to the test, but only at a specific lab where I later learned her cousin worked as a technician. Both of us were destroyed now. I was jobless and criminalized while Madison's web of lies was finally unraveling. But she had one more card to play. She texted me directly, violating her own restraining order. If anyone else learns the truth, I'll hurt myself and blame you. You know everyone will believe me. A rainstorm that week flooded the basement storage unit, where Madison had hidden my stolen belongings. She was forced to move them, and the neighbor's security camera caught her with boxes of my things. Both of us scrambled to control the narrative. Emma forwarded me an email showing Madison applying for jobs in another state, using my work history and references. She'd been practicing my signature and had even contacted my professional references, pretending to be me. The former roommate Claire finally agreed to speak up after seeing the destruction Madison had caused. She revealed Madison's history of identity theft and obsession, showing forged documents and falsified records. But everyone involved was so tangled in the web of lies that blame scattered in all directions. Alex realized he'd been manipulated but blamed me for pushing Madison to desperate measures. Marcus felt betrayed but wondered if I was just as unstable as Madison claimed. Both families were destroyed by the revelation that Madison had been playing everyone. I faced a choice: pursue criminal charges that would drag everyone through mud, or accept a deal where Madison would leave town if I dropped everything. The prosecutor, overwhelmed by the complexity and the he said, she said nature of the case, recommended the deal. I chose to file charges anyway, using Claire's evidence and Emma's testimony. Madison's cousin at the lab had already warned her, giving her time to prepare her retaliation. She posted my therapy session recordings online before fleeing to stay with relatives out of state. My reputation was destroyed. Madison was exposed but escaped real consequences. The community divided between those who believed me and those who thought we were both crazy women who deserved each other. Local Facebook groups debated whose fault it really was, with most concluding we destroyed each other over petty jealousy. The final blow came when Marcus's paternity test results arrived. Madison had lied about that too. The baby wasn't his. She'd simply chosen him as the most convenient father figure for her story, someone with resources who worked at Alex's company. The real father was someone she'd met at a conference, someone who didn't even know she was pregnant. 6 months later, I was rebuilding my life in a new city, working at a coffee shop while trying to repair my professional reputation. Madison had started over too, finding new friends in her new town. Emma kept me updated through fake social media accounts. The last message showed Madison at a baby shower, surrounded by new friends, wearing a necklace that looked suspiciously like one her new best friend had posted about losing. The cycle was starting again. My mother still sent Madison birthday cards, unable to fully let go of the girl she'd loved like a daughter. Neither of us won. Neither of us lost.